You know, as the years go by, I realized that I'm kind of losing all valor I used to have for normal type Pokemon, as well as dragon type Pokemon. I noticed, you see, every Pokemon in the game has a type advantage over something, right? It's to make it so that the types are balanced out and that there's no universally strongest type. But I've noticed since like forever ago that normal types aren't strong against any type, and dragon types are only strong against themselves. It would be one thing if normal types also had no weaknesses and dragon types were also only weak against themselves. That would be like it would fit the normal type's normalness being basically the null element of Pokemon, and it would make it like a balanced type from Beyblade, and dragon types only being weak to themselves would also be like this too, I guess. But no, normal types are weak to fighting type Pokemon, and dragon types are weak to ice and later fairy types. This means that the two types, or using them, would give you weaknesses and no strength to counteract them. And since then, I've kind of fallen off of using them in recent years. I almost don't see the point. People say that I'm underestimating the strength of neutral damage, as normal and dragon, as not a lot of types resist normal and dragon. It's difficult to vary, but I don't know, man. All the other types in Pokemon are able to utilize neutral damage at some point too. And they still have types that they're strong against and can use super effective damage on. In fact, what about the poison type? It was only strong against grass before Generation 6 and only had two weaknesses of ground and psychic. And people thought was the weakest type in the game back then. And do they still do now? I don't know. Anyways, I also heard the argument that dragon types were OP because of how big their stat point totals were, and I watched a video that made a great explanation as to how a lot of the dragon types are OP because they have legendary level stat point totals, like Dragonite, Salamence, or the actual legendaries like Dialga or Palkia. They weren't OP because they were dragon types, they were OP because they had massive stat totals that would have made them OP no matter what type they were. I kind of feel like that the dragon type was carried because of this. If the legendaries and pseudo-legendaries were not mostly dragon types, then the dragon type, I feel, probably wouldn't have as much appeal as it does, and it would be a lot weaker. Am I the only one who feels like this? I made a post on Reddit about it, and it didn't get a lot of upvotes.